It doesn't matter what brand of plug-in hybrid you have, most of them follow the same kind of concept. So you have your engine up front, of course, powered by fuel, then you have your electric motor powered by a battery, typically in the back, which enables electric-only driving. But what is the best way to use it? How can you get the best MPG and then also the best range when driving on electric? Well, in this video today, we're covering 10 tips and tricks for a plug-in hybrid. For the tips and tricks in this video, I'm using a Mercedes C-Class Estate plug-in hybrid identified by the E on the badge, officially known as a C300E, which on the technical side has a 2-litre engine and an electric motor with a range of up to 68 miles, powered by its 19.5 kilowatt-hour battery here in the boot. And the first tip and trick today, that would be charging. Yes, and that is to avoid these things, which are public chargers. This car actually has the capability to charge to 80% in about 20-ish minutes, which is pretty good. Not all plug-in hybrids can do that, but it does come at a little bit of a cost, literally. Now, this charge station here actually costs 85 pence per kilowatt, and you might be thinking, that's like a lot less than the £1.30 or £1.40 per litre, whatever it is of fuel. The thing is, electricity is not, well, the comparison isn't quite like that. Let me explain. So if you're new, this is like the most important part of this video. So yeah, this is 85 pence per kilowatt. Now to charge this hybrid up is £16.57, whereas at home, electricity costs are a lot less than this. It can be about, I don't know, probably 26, 28 pence per kilowatt, which then means it's £5.65. Yeah, and it can even get cheaper than that. Yeah, highway robbery comes to mind, so I would actively avoid using public charging where you can. Try and charge at home, but there is another way that you can actually reduce the costs even further, and that's using a thing called off-peak charging. And that would be here at home. Now, I currently have this car hooked up to my charger just over here, which enables you to charge off-peak to make the savings even better. Let me explain. So here's the difference. Now, if I charge this car up during the day, it would be £5.65. So already quite a big saving compared to in public. But that's not all. If you charge off-peak using a special tariff, I can charge this car for £1.36. I know, that's a bit of a no-brainer, that one. Now, I appreciate not everyone out there has a driveway or off-road parking, so in which case I'd recommend you guys to check out ZapMap. That shows you all the chargers in the UK, and basically just shop around like you would for fuel if you're going to charge up on electric, and make sure you get the cheapest rate possible. General rule of thumb is the faster the charger, the more expensive it is. But for charging at home, to get these off-peak rates, basically a lot of electricity providers do offer this. What we have at home is Octopus Energy, and we have a tariff called Intelligent Octopus Go, which directly links to our charger and offers smart charging rates throughout the day and of course at night as well. Now, if you guys want to switch to Octopus Energy, by all means you're more than welcome to. I do have a referral code in the description down below. And for clarification, this video is not sponsored or anything like that. Octopus Energy just have a referral code that if you are an Octopus Energy customer, you can send out a link and you both receive £50 off your next bill, which I think is quite cool. If you do want to save some money, click on that link and sign up to Octopus Energy, and yeah, you'll both save some money off our next bill. Right, let's have a look at the next tip and trick. Now for tip and trick number 3, the whole goal of a plug-in hybrid is to avoid using the engine where possible. So ideally you're going to run on electric for most of it, but there are some times where you would kind of want to keep the electric for someone else. Let me explain. Typically what you ought to aim to do is use the electric for where you know the miles per gallon would be quite bad, as in your running costs when you're running on fuel. So this would typically be if you're in start-stop traffic, or if you're just idling, you know, at traffic lights and that sort of thing, or if you're just driving around in the town, just with heavy traffic, pretty much anything under like 50 miles an hour really. Yes, this car can actually go up to 85 miles an hour on electric, which, let's be honest, is quite impressive. Not all of them can do that, but you'll burn through that range pretty quickly. Now, some cars out there, particularly like this one as well, also do have some kind of hidden electric intelligence stuff. That's what Mercedes call it. So they call it electric in LEZs, so low emission zones. And there's also some extra things on different modes, which we'll get onto in a minute. But you can have this car automatically switch to electric when you're driving in a city, for example, versus when you're driving on a motorway or dual carriageway like I am right now. But yes, don't worry, there are different drive modes. I'm going to touch on those in just a minute. Now, while I'm in the car, let's talk about a slightly boring one, which is to drive smoothly. There's no point in flooring it when, of course, you need to slow down in just a minute. So, for example, here, plug-in hybrids can be quite powerful, and they can really wrap up the pace. This is, of course, achieved using the electric motor and, of course, the engine. But the thing is, there's a 30 here, and now I've got to put my foot on the brakes and slow right up. So all of that power has now just been kind of wasted. Yes, it was fun, but we're talking about maximising range and maximising MPG here, so doing that is not going to achieve it. The other thing as well is read the road ahead, and of course leave a good distance between you and the car in front. Traffic lights, for example, they're green at the moment, but is anyone standing there? Someone over there on the left, he might be wanting to cross, he might be about to go to the crossing, press the button and it'll go red by the time you get there. Is anyone over here, like on the right hand side, waiting to cross the road or anything like that? Or is the car in front here, this white one, about to slow down and let that Mercedes E-Class Coupe or Cabriolet, I can't really tell, Cabriolet, to let the E-Class Cabriolet out? Yes, I know it is on the more of the boring side of car motoring and that sort of thing, but as I said, we're talking about maximising range and MPG and that sort of thing, reading the road ahead, and here, for example, letting the car coast and slow down naturally, because as soon as I put my foot on the brake pedal, it's lost energy, and just letting the car coast and slow down as you approach a roundabout. And then also making use of any eco-information that the car manufacturer has. So Mercedes, for example, have this green ball thing moving backwards and forwards as you go to accelerate and when you go to brake. Now, I'm planning to do a video on this for the Mercedes owners out there, so whenever I get the time to do it, I'll explain what that ball does. Basically, if it goes orange or red, then you're braking too hard or accelerating too hard. It's quite clever. Now up next is pre-entry climate control. So most EVs and most plug-in hybrids have these. If they don't, I think it'll be a little bit disappointing. It's one of the huge selling points of them. This is the fact that, for example, when it's a warm sunny day, you can pre-cool the interior and get it to the temperature you want before you leave while you're plugged in. Same goes for the winter. If it's really icy outside or really snowy or just really cold and rainy and miserable, you can have the car warm itself prior to you getting in, which also means you can de-ice the car before you get to it and no more scraping the ice off your windscreen. It's cold in the UK in winter. I want a hybrid or an EV. So yes, you can actually use this while on battery as well. So say you've had the car fully charged and you've just gone to the shops and then you just want to keep the car warm for when you get back. Yeah, by all means do that. But the most efficient way to do it would be while it's plugged in. So then you start with a pre-warmed or pre-cooled car and then you have max range right from the get-go. Now up next are the different drive modes on a plug-in hybrid. And trust me, there's a lot of different modes when it comes to hybrids, because typically on a standard petrol or diesel car, there's like an eco mode, sometimes a comfort mode or normal mode, and then a sport mode. For a plug-in hybrid, you can add another 2 or 3 on top of that. Now, if you're a Mercedes-Benz owner, I've actually already made a completely separate video, dedicated video, on all the different drive modes, for example, on a car just like this. So I'll link that down below if you want to watch that. However, giving you the short version right here, just so if you go into another video, basically, there is not really one size fits all drive mode. It's down to what you want the car to do. Now, my recommendation is to leave it in a mode called hybrid. So where is he? He is that one just there. By default, without any electric intelligence stuff going on, this will use up all the electric first, then it will switch over to the engine. The only things which will affect that will be if you have some of the settings enabled where it will do electric only in the city, or if you've got the sat-nav programmed in and you're going to go through various different cities or towns and built-up areas and ultra-low emission zones. But the beauty with the hybrid mode as well is that we're on electric at the moment. As I go to accelerate, I'm just going to keep pressing the accelerator pedal harder and harder. There's all the power, and then the engine comes in like that. So it's just the perfect blend of driving on electric, but when you need the power, you just put your foot down a little bit more and it'll give you the engine. So my recommendation, there are loads of different modes. I would personally leave it in the default mode in the hybrid or electric and just use up all the electric where you can. But if you want to, and you don't have to, but if you want to, you can change it to sport mode. You've got a bit more power. There's a battery hold mode as well if you want to hold the battery where it is, and then you could just use the engine and save your electric for a future point in the journey. But regardless, all of them will get you from A to B, regardless of whichever mode you use. It's just that try and use the electric up as much as possible. Now, another often overlooked thing is car maintenance and, of course, carrying excess weight. So, of course, make sure that the boot isn't cluttered with loads of things that you don't need from a holiday or tools or anything like that, or that kind of rubbish stuff you were meant to take to the rubbish dump weeks and weeks ago. The other thing as well is roof bars. Make sure you've got them taken off as well, because they all add to the drag coefficient factor and, of course, make the car less aerodynamic, which then means less range. Now, I guess technically as well, I've never owned a plug-in hybrid to test this out, but I presume that carrying around a full tank of fuel is probably unnecessary if you're only driving on electric a lot of the time, because obviously fuel weighs, you know, quite a fair bit. So I would probably only carry around maybe like half a tank of fuel or something like that. But then the other thing as well is also car servicing. Make sure the car's completely up to date with servicing, either at a main dealer or, you know, reputable mechanic or something like that. And then also check your tyre pressures. Make sure they're fully up to date as well. Now, up next is brake recuperation or brake regen. Now, I'm pretty sure I can safely say this, that every plug-in hybrid and every electric car will have this. I'd be shocked if they didn't. Basically, it's a way of recouping some of the power that you've used and putting it back into the battery. Now, it's not much. It's probably just literally a few percent, but it all adds up. So there's no physical way of recouping 100% of that power, unless of course you had like a mountain and you just went all the way down. But I've never tried that, but I'd like to try it one day. But notice here at the moment, I'm on a flat bit of ground at the moment. As I go to accelerate, you see it says power there, just like that. But then as soon as I go to brake, you'll see it'll start to charge and put power back into that battery. And you notice here, that charge, my foot's still on the brake for the same, and then it starts to go up just like that. That's where the brake pads and discs fade in. Now, this brings me on to the point that I mentioned earlier about braking lightly and reading the road ahead, because if you brake hard, it doesn't use brake recuperation, it just goes straight to your brakes, which is lost energy, plus it then just wears your pads and discs out. Now guys, last two. So, one of the final two is something that I'm going to say, don't pay attention to the miles per gallon figures too much. Because, for example, if you walked into a Mercedes-Benz dealership or a Mercedes showroom and you went to buy this car, if you look at the miles per gallon figures for this car, do you want to know what it says? 470 miles to the gallon. And you might think, oh my God, that's amazing. It is, but the thing is, it's the tests that all car manufacturers do, you know, WLTP. It's the wrong type of test to be doing on a hybrid, to be honest, because it misleads people in thinking that, oh yeah, I'm going to get 470 MPG. That means it's going to be 8 times or 10, 12 times better than my petrol or diesel. It's the wrong type of measurement. Just have the rule of thumb in your head that put a pinpoint where you are on the map and then expand out how far your car's range is. So for this car, it's like 60, 70 miles or something. And the reason why I say that is because, remember, miles per gallon is how many miles you've travelled per gallon of fuel used. If you're riding on electric all the time, you're not using any miles per gallon, so it's unlimited. It will show 9999. Look, let me show you. Let me reset this trip reading here. We're going to be 999 MPG because we're just riding on electric at the moment, and we'll do that for the next 39 miles. However, if I did the next 37 miles on electric and then left 2 miles kind of in the battery and then just switched over to the engine, suddenly it will show something like 700 MPG because I've only used fuel for that tiny little burst of acceleration I would have done. So the best case scenario is use miles per gallon when you're using fuel, but then use miles per kilowatt when you're on electric, or just stick to using the range. It's the wrong kind of stat to be looking at if you're looking at miles per gallon when you've had an assisted kind of form of propulsion which is electric pushing you around everywhere. It'll just kind of falsify your stats slightly. And then the final one today, guys, is use cruise control or the limiter if your car has it. So cruise control or a limiter or even adaptive cruise control is probably one of the best ways of maintaining that speed, because let's be honest, we're all human. Some of us can multitask very well and some of us can't. I'm checking out all these cars, making sure this one over here is not going to overtake this, while at the same time trying to get to 40 without going over 40. Whereas if I just use cruise control or a limiter, for example, let's put it on 40, it just takes one step away from doing that. And now, as we're going up a slight hill, I'm not accelerating or doing anything at the moment. See, it's accelerating for me. And this is one of the best things about cruise control, is that it will maintain that speed, because braking and accelerating unnecessarily is just going to eat into your range. And these are only small bits, but as I said, we're talking about maximising range and maximising MPG. These are things you're probably going to want to do. So yes, guys, there we go. That is 10 tips and tricks for a plug-in hybrid. Now, believe it or not, this video suggestion was from you guys. So if you have another suggestion you'd like me to explore and check out and make for you guys, let me know in that comment section down below. Now, if you're curious, there is also another type of hybrid that isn't a plug-in hybrid. There's also a mild hybrid. And if you want to know what that is, I've done a comparison of them just here. So have a look on that video if you want to see the differences between a mild hybrid and a plug-in hybrid. Guys, thank you so much. Until next time, see you then.